A vast desert stretches beneath a blazing sun, its surface a patchwork of sand and stone, scorched by centuries of relentless heat. The air shimmers, heavy with silence, as if the land itself holds its breath. But rise into the sky, higher and higher, and the ground reveals a secret. Enormous shapes emerge, animals, spirals, lines stretching for miles, carved into the earth with a precision that defies time. A monkey curls its tail in a perfect spiral, a spider sprawls its legs across the sand, a hummingbird hovers as if frozen in flight. These are the Nazca lines, etched into Peru's Nazca Desert, a canvas of mysteries that has whispered to the world for over 2,000 years. Who carved these giant drawings? Why did they create art meant for the heavens? Were they calling to gods, mapping the stars, or reaching for something beyond our world? What do you think these lines represent? Share your thoughts in the comments. It's the early 1920s, and a small plane hums over the desolate landscape of southern Peru. The pilot, a local man scouting the terrain, squints against the glare of the sun. The ground below looks like any other stretch of arid wilderness, barren, rocky, unremarkable. Then, something catches his eye. A massive shape materializes in the sand. A monkey, its limbs stretched wide, its tail twisting like a riddle. He banks the plane for a closer look, and more shapes appear. A spider with delicate legs, a condor soaring with outstretched wings, lines cutting through the desert like arrows to the horizon. These aren't random scratches. They're deliberate, enormous, and impossibly precise. From the ground, they're invisible, blending into the scattered stones, but from the sky, they're a masterpiece. Who do you think first noticed these shapes from the air? How would that moment feel? Word spreads of the pilot's discovery, and by the 1930s, a Peruvian archaeologist named Toribio Mejia Chespe sets out to explore these strange markings. His boots crunch on the rocky soil as he traces the faint outlines of shapes that stretch for miles. Mejia Chespe is no stranger to Peru's ancient past. He's studied the ruins of forgotten cultures. But this is different. The Nazca lines are unlike anything he's seen. Created by a people who lived over 2,000 years ago, these designs cover hundreds of square miles, some figures spanning more than 1,000 feet. A condor with a wingspan the size of a football field, a tree branching into the desert, straight lines pointing to distant horizons, each one a testament to a civilization that turned a barren wasteland into a canvas. How did they do it without modern tools or the ability to fly? And why would they create art that only makes sense from the heavens? Can you imagine planning such a massive project without flying? Share your ideas below. Mejia Chespe spends years mapping the lines, documenting over 50 geoglyphs, giant drawings of animals, plants, and geometric shapes. He walks the desert under the blistering sun, his notebook filling with sketches of a hummingbird, its beak poised as if sipping nectar. A spider, its legs perfectly proportioned. A whale, an ocean creature stranded in a landlocked desert. He finds spirals that twist like cosmic riddles and straight lines that cut through mountains and valleys, some stretching over 20 miles. His work draws scholars from around the world, and the Nazca lines become a global fascination. But for every answer, new questions arise. Who were the Nazca people? What drove them to transform their desert into art? And who was meant to see their work? Who do you think these lines were meant for? Gods or something else? Fast forward to 1968, and a Swiss writer named Erich von Däniken steps into the story, shaking the world with a bold claim. The Nazca lines, he says, weren't just art, they were runways for alien spacecraft. It's a wild idea, the kind that sparks heated debates and captures imaginations. But it's hard to dismiss outright. The lines are only fully visible from the air, a perspective the Nazca people couldn't have had. Why create art for an audience that didn't exist? Von Däniken points to a figure etched into a hillside, a humanoid with a helmet-like head, arms outstretched, nicknamed the astronaut by modern observers. It's unlike any other geoglyph, almost as if it's waving to the sky. Then there's the whale, a sea creature drawn in a desert far from any ocean. And the straight lines, some running for miles with uncanny precision, cutting through rugged terrain. Could these be landing strips for extraterrestrial ships? Do you buy into the alien theory, or is it just a flight of fancy? Let's discuss in the comments. Von Daniken's theory doesn't stop there. He notes ancient Nazca textiles, woven with patterns that some claim resemble flying machines or celestial beings. Picture a Nazca priest standing in the moonlight, his face painted with ochre, guiding his people as they carve messages into the earth, hoping to catch the eye of visitors from the stars. The idea is tantalizing, suggesting that humanity's curiosity about the cosmos stretches back thousands of years. It paints a picture of a desert alive with possibility, where ancient humans worked under the gaze of beings from another world. The theory taps into a deep human longing to believe we're not alone, that our ancestors might have known secrets we've yet to uncover. Could the Nazca have been trying to contact the stars? What's your take? But step back from the stars, and the story takes root in the desert's harsh reality. The Nazca people, who thrived between 200 BCE and 600 CE, were no ordinary civilization. They lived in one of the harshest environments on Earth, a desert where rain was a myth and survival was a daily struggle. Yet they didn't just survive, they flourished. They built underground aqueducts called puquios to channel water from hidden springs, turning barren land into fertile fields. Their pottery burst with color, depicting gods, animals, and mythical scenes with a vibrancy that still dazzles today. Their textiles, woven with intricate patterns, rivaled the finest modern fabrics. These were artists, engineers, and visionaries, people who looked at a brutal landscape and saw a canvas for their dreams. How does this level of creativity in such a harsh desert inspire you? Share below. Creating the Nazca lines was no small feat, but it wasn't impossible. The desert's surface is covered with dark, oxidized stones worn by centuries of sun and wind. Beneath lies lighter, pale soil. The Nazca cleared these stones, piling them along the edges to create high-contrast designs that glow against the dark ground. The process was simple but labor-intensive. Hundreds of people working together, using ropes, stakes, and careful measurements to map out figures that spanned entire valleys. The hummingbird, over 300 feet long, spreads its wings as if ready to take flight. The spider, nearly 150 feet, stretches its legs with delicate precision. The condor, soaring over 400 feet, points its beak to the sky. Some figures took generations to complete, with families passing down the knowledge of where to place each stone, how to measure each curve. What kind of dedication would it take to pass down such a massive project across generations? Imagine a Nazca elder, his hands calloused from years of work, teaching a young apprentice to tie a rope to a stake, to walk a straight line under the burning sun. Picture the chants that filled the air, the rituals that accompanied each new geoglyph. The Nazca lines weren't just art, they were a labor of love, a testament to a community bound by purpose. The scale was staggering. Some geoglyphs stretched over 1,000 feet, requiring not just skill, but an almost obsessive dedication. The straight lines, some running for 20 miles, suggest a deep understanding of geometry. Without compasses or rulers, the Nazca likely used a system of ropes and stakes, similar to how ancient Egyptians aligned their pyramids. A central point would be marked, and workers would extend ropes to plot the design, ensuring every curve and angle was perfect. If you were part of this project, which figure would you want to help create? Share in the comments. The process would have been slow, methodical, almost meditative. Picture a procession of priests, their faces painted with ochre, carrying ceramic vessels filled with chicha, a fermented corn drink. Children watch from the sidelines, learning the patterns their ancestors carved, ready to take up the work themselves one day. The lines weren't just drawings, they were a living tradition, a bridge between the past and the future. The Nazca people had no way to see their creations from above, yet they worked in the blistering heat, moving stones one by one without ever witnessing the full beauty of their art. Were they driven by faith, by a need to connect with something greater? Did they believe their gods were watching from the heavens, judging their work? Or were they leaving a legacy for a future they couldn't imagine? Who do you think the Nazca were creating these lines for? Share your thoughts. Archaeologists have spent decades piecing together the Nazca puzzle, grounding the mystery in the lives of the people who made it. They argue the lines were sacred pathways, walked by priests and worshippers in rituals to honor water and fertility. In a desert where every drop was precious, the Nazca turned to their gods for survival. The hummingbird, with its delicate beak sipping nectar, might symbolize life and renewal. The spider, tied to weaving and creation in Nazca mythology, could represent the interconnectedness of the cosmos. The monkey, playful yet powerful, might embody the spirit of the earth itself. Some lines align with the solstices, suggesting they were a giant calendar to track the seasons. Others point to sacred mountains or underground water sources, hinting at a map of spiritual and physical survival. Which figure speaks to you the most, and why? Tell us in the comments. The Nazca's world was one of complexity and beauty. Their society, numbering in the tens of thousands at its peak, was built on cooperation. Priest-led ceremonies, artisans crafted pottery and textiles, and farmers tended fields fed by the puquios. Religion was the heartbeat of their culture, with deities tied to the earth, sky, and sea. Human sacrifice, though rare, was part of their rituals, often to appease gods during times of drought. Archaeologists have found mummified heads, called trophy heads, buried in Nazca sites, suggesting a spiritual world where life and death were intertwined. The Nazca lines were part of this tapestry, woven into a culture that saw the divine in every aspect of their world. What aspect of the Nazca's spiritual world fascinates you the most? Share below. But what about Erich von Daniken's alien theory? Scientists shake their heads. There's no evidence of extraterrestrial technology, no spaceships, no advanced tools, nothing to suggest the Nazca had help from beyond. Experiments have shown the lines could be made with basic tools, ropes, stakes, and patience. The astronaut figure is likely a shaman or deity, not an extraterrestrial visitor. The whale in the desert, a symbol of the Nazca's connection to distant cultures, perhaps through trade or mythology. The flying objects on textiles, artistic flourishes, not proof of UFOs. The alien theory, while compelling, dismisses the Nazca's ingenuity, reducing their achievements to the work of hypothetical extraterrestrials. Do you think science or the alien theory holds more weight? Let us know in the comments. Yet the theory persists, not because it's proven, but because it's captivating. It taps into our longing to believe that our ancestors knew secrets we've lost, that they touched the stars in ways we can only dream of. The Nazca lines challenge us to question what we think we know, to wonder if there's more to the story than stones and sand. The aerial perspective remains a puzzle. Did the Nazca climb hills to view their work, or did they trust their measurements so completely that they didn't need to see the final result? Were they creating for their gods, for themselves, or for a future they hoped would understand? How does this mystery make you feel? What do you think the Nazca were aiming for? The mystery has only grown with time. In the 21st century, drones and satellite imaging have revealed hundreds of new geoglyphs, smaller shapes, hidden patterns, lines we never knew existed. In 2018, archaeologists uncovered a killer whale and a dancing woman, etched with a grace that defies the desert's harshness. In 2023, a massive cat geoglyph emerged, its whiskers curling across a hillside like a playful secret. Each discovery adds a new layer to the story, but the truth slips through our fingers like sand. The sheer number of geoglyphs suggests the Nazca lines were a project that spanned centuries, evolving with each generation. Some scholars believe they were part of a dynamic landscape where new designs were added during festivals or rituals. Others see them as a form of storytelling, each figure contributing to a larger narrative about the Nazca's world. Which newly discovered geoglyph sparks your curiosity the most? Share in the comments. Modern science has shed light on the line's purpose. Satellite imaging shows some lines align with underground water sources, supporting the idea that they were tied to rituals for rain and fertility. Chemical analysis of the soil reveals no trace of advanced technology, reinforcing the view that the Nazca relied on their own ingenuity. Yet the question lingers. Why craft art only the heavens can see? Were the Nazca speaking to their gods or to something we can't yet grasp? The desert preserves their work, turning the Nazca lines into one of the world's greatest archaeological treasures. The dry climate, free of rain and wind, has kept the lines intact for millennia, a testament to the Nazca's foresight. How does it feel to know these lines have survived thousands of years? Share your thoughts. The Nazca lines are more than a collection of drawings. They're a testament to the human spirit. They speak of a people who faced a brutal environment and chose to create beauty, to leave a mark that would outlast them. Each figure, the condor soaring, the spider weaving, the tree reaching for the sky, tells a story of a people who looked at their harsh world and saw a canvas for their dreams. Were the lines a prayer for rain in a parched land? A map of sacred sites, guiding pilgrims through the desert? A canvas for spiritual journeys, where priests walked the lines to commune with their gods? Or could they be a message to the future, a code we're not yet ready to crack? What do you think the true purpose of the Nazca lines was? Share your theories below. The Nazca people lived in a world of contrasts. Their desert was unforgiving, yet their art was vibrant. Their lives were tied to the earth, yet their creations reached for the sky. They built aqueducts that still flow today, wove textiles that rival modern craftsmanship, and painted pottery that tells stories of their gods. Their society was a tapestry of cooperation, with priests leading rituals, artisans crafting beauty, and farmers coaxing life from the desert. The Nazca lines were part of this world, a reflection of a culture that saw the divine in every stone, every drop of water, every star in the night sky. What do you find most inspiring about the Nazca's creative legacy? Let us know. As we gaze at these ancient shapes, we're reminded of our own place in the universe. The Nazca lines challenge us to ask big questions, to imagine possibilities beyond what we can see. They show us that 2,000 years ago, a people in a distant desert dared to dream big, to create something that would endure for millennia. The lines are a mirror, reflecting our curiosity, our longing to understand the past, and our place among the stars. They invite us to wonder, to question, to listen to the whispers of the desert. The answer lies buried in the sand, waiting for us to uncover it. How have these mysterious lines touched you? Which part of the story made you think the most? Share in the comments.